Chapter 10. A date? Tom's day off came 2 mornings later. Hadrick waved him away after breakfast, gruffly insisting that the stable would survive a single day without him underfoot. "Go be a boy," Hadrick muttered. "You look like you've swallowed too many worries." Tom did not argue. Liz, wearing a green dress, was waiting by the well when he stepped into the yard. Her hair was tied neatly with a faded blue ribbon, her expression bright with hope. "You're free?" she'd asked. "For today," Tom said, trying to sound casual. He felt the weight of the few coins in his pocket, copper mostly, 1 small silver he had saved carefully. Not much, but enough perhaps for something small. "Then we're going," Liz declared, already turning toward the street. Greyhaven's market spread along the wide square near the river, stalls packed close together beneath patched awnings, some drab and old, others bright with yellow, purple, and green. Tables overflowed with cloth, tools, candles, fruit, cheap jewelry, and other things, some useful and some not. The scent of baked bread, roasting meat, fresh herbs, and livestock mingled in the air. Traders called out their wares. Children darted between tables. A fiddler played near a fountain. Tom thought that he glimpsed Dirk's face in the crowd, but it could have been his imagination. Tom walked beside Liz, careful not to brush her hand though he wanted to. He tried to decide if the scent of lavender came from her or from one of the market stalls. Liz had always been kind to him. He wanted to do something for her. But what would she like? From the corner of his eye, Tom watched as she admired bolts of fabric, jars of honey, colorful trinkets, and bits of jewelry that caught the sunlight. Beyond the bright stalls and laughter, his gaze drifted toward the edges of the square. The polished storefronts near the main road slowly gave way to narrow lanes. The cobbles grew uneven, the voices rougher. That was where one might sell something quietly. "You don't have to look so serious," she teased. "I'm not," he protested. Brows furrowed, squinty eyes, lips bunched up. He forced his face to relax with a little grin. "Just looking." Liz tugged his sleeve. "Come on." They walked past a stall with deep purple cloth sagged over a narrow table cluttered with polished stones, braided cords threaded with beads, and copper pendants etched with symbols. They stopped at a confectioner's stall where sugar-dusted pastries gleamed like treasures. Tom's hand hovered near his pocket. He could buy 2, or 1 large one to share. He hesitated. Liz leaned closer to inspect a honey cake. She inhaled the sweet aroma. A bright smile spread across her face. "You like that?" Tom asked. She shrugged lightly. "They're expensive." "That's not what I asked." She glanced at him, smiling. "Maybe." Tom stepped forward and cleared his throat. 2 honey cakes. The vendor wrapped them in wide leaves. The coins felt heavier leaving his palm than they had sitting there. He gazed longingly as the coins disappeared in the vendor's palm. Liz blinked at him as he handed her one. "You didn't have to." "I thought you'd like it." Liz's smile broadened as Tom felt heat coming to his cheeks. They sat on the low stone edge of the fountain to eat. Sugar clung to Liz's lips. She laughed when he pointed it out, wiping it away with her thumb. For a moment, he felt like the ring could stay buried forever. Liz laughed beside him, sunlight caught in the fountain spray. Tom wanted to stay in that moment, but his eyes drifted toward the edge of the square. He catalogued exits, watched faces, noted which guards patrolled and which corners they ignored. The seedier lanes pulled at his thoughts. If he were to sell the ring, he would try someone in the shadow. No questions. No trouble. "You're thinking again," Liz said. "Always," he replied. "About what?" He looked at her and for a second considered telling her everything. The ring. The dead noble. The questions. He swallowed it down. The ring was his problem. Nothing important. Liz studied him for a moment, then opened her mouth to say something. "Hey, sable rat." A sharp voice cut through the market hum. For an instant Tom thought it was Dirk. Tom and Liz turned. 3 older boys walked toward them, broad-shouldered and dirt-streaked. They clearly didn't come to share honey cakes. One nudged another and tilted his chin toward Liz. "Well now," he said, grinning. "Who's your friend?" The second boy looked Tom up and down and snorted. "Come hang out with us. Not this loser." Liz's expression cooled. I wasn't asking for advice. The third laughed. I like this one. He stepped closer. Tom placed himself half a pace in front of her. She's not interested. The first boy smiled slowly. Didn't ask you. The first boy looked him up and down. Scram stable rat. No, Tom replied evenly, teeth clenched. We don't want your company. Leave. The boys exchanged amused glances. Or what? The second one asked. Tom's pulse quickened. He glanced at the three boys and widened his stance subtly. You heard me, Tom said. The first boy shoved him. Tom stepped back with control, absorbing it, rather than stumbling. The second shove came faster. This time Tom stepped to the side and redirected the push slightly. The boys' expressions shifted, amusement thinning. Oh, the first said. You think you can fight? Tom did not answer. The first punch snapped in quick and straight. Tom barely turned it aside, knuckles grazing his cheekbone. He bared his teeth, stepped in and struck the attacker's midsection. The boy grunted, clutching his side. The second lunged forward with a punch. Tom could not step aside as Rylan taught him and still protect Liz. He ducked under the flying fist, throwing his shoulder into the boy's chest, driving the air from his lungs. A punch to his jaw followed, then a kick to the knee. Liz's voice cracked behind him. The third boy caught him from the side, shoving Tom off balance. He staggered, still trying to keep all three in view and Liz behind him. A fist clipped his cheek. Another glanced off his temple. Tom tasted blood again as his nose erupted. The world flashed white for a second. He staggered and shook his head. Another shove sent him sprawling onto the cobbles. Boots thudded around him. Stop it, Liz cried. A kick grazed his ribs. He rolled, shielding his head. A shout cut through the chaos. Enough. A city guard approached at a jog, hand on his sword. Two of the boys melted into the crowd. The third limped away. Tom pushed himself up slowly, blood dripping steadily down his nose. Liz knelt beside him, eyes wide with worry. Are you mad? There were 3 of them. I noticed, he muttered thickly. The guard looked down. You started that? No, Liz said fiercely. They did. The guard studied Tom briefly, then shrugged. Stay out of trouble. He walked off. Tom wiped his face with the back of his sleeve, wincing. You're bleeding again, Liz said softly. I'll live. She helped him sit on the fountain edge once more. You didn't run, she said after a moment. No. You could have. He met her eyes. So could you. She smiled faintly. I wasn't the one fighting off 3 idiots. He chuckled weakly and winced. You fought differently, she observed. I've been practicing, he admitted. Liz reached up and gently brushed hair away from his brow. That was foolish, she whispered. Before he could respond, she leaned forward and pressed a quick, soft kiss against his cheek just beside the smear of drying blood. Tom froze. It lasted only a heartbeat. When she pulled back, her face was flushed pink. For bravery, she said, trying to sound casual. His ribs hurt, his nose throbbed, and he still couldn't stop touching the place she'd kissed. We should go, she said gently. They walked back through the market, slower now. Liz walked beside Tom. Her shoulder brushed his.